Okie dokie. Hello, 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 and happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Okie dokie. Hopefully, only 4 more days of distance learning. Hopefully, a week from today, we'll be back in school. You'll be looking at this lovely face, although you'll be looking at this. It'll look like this, not like this. But you'll still be with me. My children's looking at me, judging me. Anyway. Okie dokie. So I'm going to do some screen sharing. I'm pretty excited. We are going to be talking about King. Let me close my email because it always pops up when I'm doing stuff and it's kind of annoying. Close. Okay. So we are going to be talking about King Tut, or as people know him, King Tutankhamun. He is one of the more famous Egyptian pharaohs, which is interesting because as of 100 years ago, nobody knew anything about him. You would have said King Tut and they'd be like, King who? King Henry? Or no, he's King of England. Nobody knew about King Tut. It wasn't, well, I'm going to show you the video about why he's such a big deal, how he was found, all of that. So I'm actually going to show you 3 short videos that I want you to, oh shoot, sorry, I didn't need to do this. Let me move me. So we got 3 short videos. First one's just kind of a little introduction to King Tut. King Tut is in a lot of movies, a lot of cartoons, because he is, again, one of the most well-known ancient Egyptians.
Ancient Egypt, land of the pharaohs, a beacon of progress on the horizon of humanity, but a cruel and barbarous civilization just the same. I just hope Penny isn't suffering too badly. I got it!
What are you doing here?
We have come to take you home.
What's the Egyptian word for tattletale?
Mufshiasur. But that's beside the point. Get your clothes on. We're going home.
Who died and made you, Pharaoh? Now, bring on the mani-pedi.
See, Mr. Peabody? Impossible!
Indeed. But watch what happens when an immovable object meets an irresistible force. Penny, come here right now. Penny, come.
I'm not Penny anymore. Now, I'm Princess Hatshepsut, precious flower of the Nile.
Precious, perhaps, but if you think we're going to leave you here, you are most definitely in denial.
I don't get it.
Now come along.
Unhand her! What's the matter, my sweet little desert blossom? Are these barbarians bothering you?
As a matter of fact, they are.
Bow, barbarians!
As you wish, Your Highness.
Who's that, Mr. Peabody?
That, Sherman, is the living image of Amun, son of Akhenaten, lord of the 18th dynasty of the New Kingdom, King Tutankhamun, otherwise known as King Tut.
My boyfriend.
King Tut is your boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to have them skinned, covered with honey, and laid in a pit of fire ants?
You'd do that for me?
Anything, my desert flower. Consider it a wedding gift.
What?
Can't marry this guy?
Why not?
Well, for one, his name rhymes with butt.
I don't care. I'm gonna have a big, fat Egyptian wedding.
Spoiler alert, King Tut dies young. Are you sure you've thought this through?
Oh, trust me, I thought it through. I'm getting everything.
The royal astronomers have decreed the wedding must take place tomorrow at dawn.
Who is he?
He is I.
He is you?
I am the Grand Vizier.
Yeah, that's his name.
Oh.
Oh, Grand Vizier, would you mind telling the precious princess here precisely what it means to marry the young pharaoh?
Gladly. It means she will be bound to him in eternity through the sacred ceremonies of disembowelment and mummification, as described in the holy texts.
Hold up a second. Can you walk me through that, somebody?
What he means, Penny, is that when I die, they'll kill you too. And then they'll rip out your organs, stuff them in canopic jars, and then mummify whatever's left.
Okay, I'm seeing this now. Thank you. I'm gonna go with them.
There's no turning back now.
To the palace. Let the wedding preparations begin.
Mr. Peabody! Sherman! Do something! Don't worry, Penny. We'll save you.
Okie dokie. So that is, I'm sure some of you have seen that before, but again, King Tut is one of the most famous Egyptians. So he is in a lot of movies, cartoons, because he is someone that is so well known. They even have like, I'm sure you've seen it, like the King Tut t-shirts. Like I'm sure people wear them. They don't even know what it means or what it is. Wearing these King Tut, like, oh, the Golden Pharaoh, these t-shirts. Okay, so next little cartoon. This one's about 11 minutes, but it's going to give you a ton of background information that is really important for what we're going to be doing for the week.
The year is 1922, and famed Egyptologist Howard Carter is frustrated. Months ago, he had sent a telegraph to his financier, Lord Carnarvon, informing him of another disappointing season of digging in the harsh Egyptian desert with no luck. Lord Carnarvon's reply back had been simple: "You have one more season of funding to make a significant find." Carter thus returned to a spot he had previously scouted but not dug at all, in the Valley of Kings, a line of ancient huts mostly covered with sand. Yet whatever secrets lay hidden under the Egyptian sands remained that way, and now time and money was running out. If he didn't make a major discovery in the next week or two, his funding and career both would be over. In the worksite, a young Egyptian water boy is hurrying along, bringing drinking water to the thirsty workers, when suddenly he trips on a stone and dislodges it slightly. Curious, he pries the stone loose, and his eyes widen when he spies a set of stairs cut into the bedrock. Rushing to Carter's tent, cries of alarm ring throughout the camp. Carter hurries to the accidental discovery, prying away more stone to reveal a full flight of stairs leading deep into the earth. Crews labor to remove the blocking debris until a man-sized opening is made, into which Carter steps through. Torch in hand, Carter descends the stairs and arrives at a mud-plastered doorway, upon which are the stamps of several royal cartouches. His eyes go wide. Whatever lies behind this doorway is something big, something directly linked to the ancient kings of Egypt. He orders the hallway to be refilled in order to discourage tomb robbers and immediately departs for Cairo, where he sends a telegram to Carnarvon, informing him of the discovery. Carnarvon wires more funding to Carter, but insists on being there for the tomb opening. And 2.5 weeks later, both men are in the ancient staircase, standing before the mud-sealed doorway. With a chisel his grandmother had gifted him for his 17th birthday, Carter makes a small hole in the top left corner of the doorway, and raising a small candle to the hole, peers inside. At first he sees nothing, but then as the dust settles, the dim light of the candle reflects off golden and jeweled surfaces that litter the chamber behind. Carnarvon impatiently asks Carter if he can see anything, to which Carter famously replies, "Yes, wonderful things." Lost for 3,000 years, Carter's discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun is widely considered one of the greatest archaeological achievements in history. And yet the discovery was strangely plagued by a great deal of deaths, which many have attributed to the ancient curse of the pharaohs. Others still point to more practical reasons for these strange deaths, but the unsettling warnings of curses within the tombs themselves can be rather harrowing. Take, for instance, this curse discovered in an Old Kingdom era tomb. "Cursed be those who disturb the rest of a pharaoh. They that shall break the seal of this tomb shall meet death by a disease that no doctor can diagnose." Eerily, many people involved with the excavation of ancient tombs in Egypt have succumbed to strange diseases, or had previously diagnosed diseases flare up and claim their lives. Yet many say that these were nothing more than practical warnings that preyed on the superstition of ancient people. And if you're burying a dead guy in a room full of gold and wealth, it kind of makes sense to try and scare away any would-be tomb robbers. Carter himself was said to propagate the myth of an ancient curse in order to keep tomb robbers away after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. And yet none can deny the penetration of these sacred resting places, and the pilfering of their riches has indeed led to some very strange incidents. But what about actual death caused by ancient curses, or at least serious illness? For answers to those questions, we can turn to 9 of the most famous alleged victims of the curse of the pharaohs. George Herbert, or Lord Carnarvon, was the financier behind Howard Carter's expeditions to the Valley of the Kings, and one of the first men to enter the tomb of Tutankhamun after his 3,000-year rest. Months after the opening of the tomb, mysterious accidents had already plagued some of the workers involved with the original excavation, and already newspapers were running rampant with tales of ancient curses being linked to the ancient Boy King's tomb. A few months after his entrance into Tutankhamun's resting place, Lord Carnarvon was shaving when he accidentally tore open a mosquito bite, which led to a blood infection. Days later, he was dead. Doctors attributing the death to pneumonia and a severe infection of the skin and underlying soft tissues. Immediately, the press jumped on the story, claiming that Tutankhamun had claimed revenge on the man responsible for his disturbance. Yet more level-headed individuals were quick to point out that Lord Carnarvon had always been prone to infections, a semi-invalid after a nearly fatal car accident in 1903. Lord Carnarvon was prone to frequent and severe lung infections, and it was generally believed that one severe bout of pneumonia could lead to his death at any time. Thus, critics of the ancient curse theory point out that the Lord's death was unfortunate, but completely grounded in reality. Yet, consider that many ancient Egyptian curses warn of death
2020, that's it. Calling anyone
by disease. And while Hollywood would have us believe in ancient mummies coming back to seek their revenge, what if the curse of the pharaohs merely seals your doom by completely natural means? What if the ancient curse was nothing more than the slight nudging of Lord Carnarvon's razor blade, causing it to cut into the mosquito bite which would become infected? Or perhaps the curse was the prompting of the mosquito in the first place, directed to bite Lord Carnarvon in the one place his razor blade would slice. A close friend of Howard Carter, Sir Bruce Ingram, was allegedly gifted a paperweight made from a mummified hand, wearing a scarab bracelet, which is rather macabre. Inscribed upon the bracelet were the words written in ancient Egyptian, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence." Soon after receiving the macabre gift, Ingram's house was lost in a freak fire, which completely gutted the home. After rebuilding it, the home was then hit by a devastating flood. There's no news if disease ever visited Ingram, but that may just be because he wisely threw away the very disturbing gift. We definitely would have. People not directly involved in the dig and merely visiting the tomb were also susceptible to the alleged curse, though, with the most high profile of which was likely Prince Ali Hamal Fahmy Bey, who was murdered within a year of visiting the ancient tomb of Tutankhamun. Sir Lee Stack, governor of Sudan, also met a violent death within a year of his visit to the ancient tomb. Another visitor to the tomb, British MP Aubrey Herbert, would go blind shortly after and end up dying of blood poisoning. If this still seems like mere coincidence, Aubrey Herbert was Lord Carnarvon's half-brother, and upon entering the burial chamber remarked aloud, "Something dreadful is going to happen to our family." One article in the Los Angeles Times, however, commented, "No matter how little superstitious a man may be, the act of breaking the rest so carefully guarded through the centuries must cause an emotion which time can never efface." There's little doubt that there's truth to those words, and we can only imagine the feeling of intrusion one must have when entering a 3,000-year-old tomb. Yet if people were looking to explain away the ancient curse as coincidences, then 1924 would do little to allay their fears. That year, Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, responsible for the initial x-rays of King Tutankhamun's body, would go on to die of a mysterious illness, making the words of the curse warning of death by a disease no doctor can diagnose ring eerily true. After Sir Archibald was H.E. Evelyn White, a promising archaeologist who had been in the first team of explorers into Tutankhamun's tomb. He would go on to hang himself after writing, "I have succumbed to a curse," although skeptics point out that Evelyn White had just suffered the death of a close friend and may have been extremely depressed and meant his depression as his curse. Dormant for a year, the curse reappeared in 1926, when George Benedict of the Louvre Museum died after visiting the ongoing excavations at the tomb. Aaron Ember, another Egyptologist, also died that same year, this time of a
Hey guys, today we are trying Adapted Mind. I'm so excited to try this game. I've heard really good things.
a freak accident in his house. After Howard Carter's main dig into the tomb, archaeologist A.C. Mace took over and spent from 1924 to 1928 on the site, engaging in further excavations and making more discoveries. However, the longer he stayed on the site, the weaker he seemed to become, until in 1928 he collapsed, dying days later of suspected arsenic poisoning in the same hospital as Lord Carnarvon. A year later, skeptics would be rocked by two further deaths. The first of Howard Carter's personal secretary, Richard Bethel, who who had been present when the tomb was first opened. He was found in November 1929, smothered to death in his bed. A few months later, Bethel's father jumped to his death from a 7th-floor apartment, apparently in a fully delirious state. His suicide note read, "I really cannot stand any more horrors and hardly see what good I'm going to do here, so I am making my exit." His apartment was said to have been filled with artifacts directly from the dig site, gifted to him by his son. Lastly, that same year, Lord Carnarvon's other half-brother died from malarial pneumonia, bringing an end at last to the Curse of the Pharaohs. Within just 6 years of the discovery of the tomb, Carnarvon, both of his brothers, Carter's chief archaeologist, his personal secretary, and his secretary's father, the excavation's radiologist, and half a dozen other prominent visitors to the tomb were all dead. Yet modern science points to a very possible explanation for most of the deaths. After the death of an American Egyptologist in 1995, American politicians ordered an investigation into the hazards that mummies may pose, and a subsequent scientific study showed that the mummies could carry several strains of deadly bacteria and mold, exactly the type of which that could severely affect someone with a weakened immune system, such as some of the victims of the 1920s curse. There's also the fact that the press had sensationalized the tales of a curse to such a degree that some of the more mentally unstable people involved in the excavation, such as Bethel and his father, may have legitimately linked their mental troubles to the curse. Lastly, and this one is one of the more interesting theories, is a recent publication by a historian studying famed Satanist Aleister Crowley's notes, who believes that the majority of the deaths were at the hands of Crowley himself. As a Satanist who took inspiration for his worship from ancient Egyptian deities, Crowley may have been deeply offended by the violation of Tutankhamun's tomb and sought to reap a revenge that could be attributed to the ancient curse the media was writing about every day. This historian links Crowley directly to several of the members who died as a result of the alleged curse, and the fact that they all happened in Crowley's home of London, England, lends great credence to the theory. Ultimately, we may never know if the Curse of the Pharaohs was real or just an imagined explanation for the mysterious and tragic deaths of Carter's team. It's easy to explain away superstitious talk of ancient curses, and it's likely that the deaths were nothing more than natural causes, or perhaps the murder spree of a Satanist fanatic. Yet one can't help but note how very strange it was for so many people directly linked with Tutankhamun's tomb to all die within years of each other. Thought this video was interesting? Check out our other video.
Okie dokie, guys. I have one more short video. This one's short, I promise. 5 minutes. It's pretty short. And again, I think these all give really good background
Grammarly
information.
is an amazing tool that can be downloaded to your computer as an application. So what it is essentially a digital writing assistant.
Undisturbed for millennia, nearly forgotten by history, it was only chance that brought Tutankhamun, commonly known as King Tut, to modern fame. In 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered Tutankhamun's tomb. It was the best preserved pharaoh's tomb ever to be discovered, basically untouched by the tomb robbers who emptied most others of their treasures. The artifacts inside gave a never-before-seen look into the life and death of an Egyptian pharaoh and sparked new curiosity about King Tut, a ruler lost to time. He was born as Tutankhaten more than 3,000 years ago, about 1341 BC, the son of the pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a controversial pharaoh. He made many changes to the religion of ancient Egypt, including switching from worshiping many gods to worshiping only Aten, the sun, and moving the capital city from Thebes to a new city at Amarna, which he built. Akhenaten died when Tut was very young, and Tut became the pharaoh at the age of 9. With the help of powerful advisors, young Tut reversed all of his father's changes and even changed his name to Tutankhamun to show that he was ending the time when Aten was worshipped as the one god. King Tut was not very healthy and may have had to walk with a cane. This was probably partially because his parents were brother and sister, something that was common for royal marriages in ancient Egypt. When he became pharaoh, Tut married his half-sister, Ankhsenamun. Together, they had 2 daughters, but both of them died before they could even be born. The pharaoh Tutankhamun died when he was only about 19 years old. The exact cause of his death is a mystery, but archaeologists believe that he may have died from an injury or an infection. However he died, it was unexpected for a pharaoh to die so young, and his tomb was probably not complete. This would have forced Tut to be buried in a tomb intended for someone else. Tutankhamun was mummified and buried in a sarcophagus holding 3 nested coffins, each smaller than the next. Inside the last coffin was a beautiful golden mask inlaid with glass and gemstones, as well as many other detailed and valuable artifacts decorating his mummy. His sarcophagus was surrounded by 4 elaborate shrines, and his tomb was filled from top to bottom with thousands and thousands of items and artifacts that the Egyptians believed King Tut would need for his journey to the afterlife. After the tomb was sealed, it was robbed at least twice, but only a little was taken, and then it appears to have been forgotten. Rubble and stone debris from building other tombs higher on the hill buried the entrance, protecting it from thieves, and it lay untouched for over 3,000 years. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, archaeologists began to excavate and explore the tombs and ruins of ancient Egypt. Howard Carter, an English archaeologist, was among the people digging there. He discovered the tombs of several pharaohs in the Valley of the Kings, but all had been robbed of their contents many years before. In November of 1922, Carter and his team discovered the entrance to Tutankhamun's tomb. They made a small opening, and Carter was able to look inside. The people who were with him asked if he could see anything inside, and Carter answered, "Yes, wonderful things." When the tomb was opened completely, they could see many artifacts and items inside. More than 5,000 items were found in Tut's tomb, and each needed to be removed, cataloged, described, photographed, and shipped to the Cairo Museum, a process that took 10 years. The discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun made news headlines worldwide, and the artifacts that were inside it have traveled to museums around the globe to be seen by millions of people. Tutankhamun, a pharaoh who ruled for only 10 years 3,000 years ago, has become one of the most famous pharaohs in history because of the amazing treasures he had buried with him, treasures that were incredibly intact when they were discovered in 1922. I hope you enjoyed learning about the pharaoh Tutankhamun today and seeing some of his fabulous treasure. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, last video. Again, I know it was like 16 minutes worth of video. However, I believe it's a lot of really good background information that's going to help us with what we're going to be doing for the rest of the week. So, ladies and gentlemen, you should have the packet. That is, the front page is either going to look like this, which is the answered, I'll show you, sorry, which is either the answered document that looks like this, or the front page that looks like this. Either one, that is what you are going to need. It's not there? Outside? You looked outside. Sorry. Okay, so today we're just going to work on the introduction, and they're going to work on document number 1 and document number 2. So this is document number 1, the one that looks like this. It actually has this information on the top and then this information on the bottom. So for document 1, this one doesn't really have any questions. So we're just going to write down 3 facts that we read about from document 1. So we're going to start out by up in our triple A, up in our triple A, up in our, I don't know if you saw, it's a new TikTok dance. Can you do me one more favor and look and see outside those doors? See if there's a science packet. Because I have someone who wants to come get it, but I don't have any. Okay. So up in our triple R, for those of you who are new, up in our triple R, it looks like UPNR-RRR. So the U stands for underline or highlight. We typically highlight any titles or headers. So I'm going to highlight this. CSI, was King Tut murdered? It's kind of like Ötzi. There is a lot of evidence, and each evidence supports a different theory. Some evidence supports that he was murdered. Some evidence supports he died of a disease. Some theories show that he got a broken leg. We just don't, that is what we're going to find out. And then on the bottom, we're gonna do case summary, and then was King Tut murdered? Murdered. All right, just 1 second. I have to do something real quick. Okay, back, sorry. What just seemed like a second to you, I ran to Miss Medina's room, then I ran to Miss Wilson's room, and then I ran to the office, and then I ran back. I'm old. All right, sorry. Let's go back to screen sharing. Okay, so we were working on our up and our triple R. So we underlined it or highlighted titles and headers. The P stands for predict. This one we don't have to do a prediction on because it's just going to give us some background information, so I'm not really worried about prediction. And prediction is more, let's say if you're going to see you're reading a text, I don't know, about dinosaurs or King Henry VIII, because the minute you breathe that, your brain automatically starts pulling out any information you know about that topic. And number the paragraph, not really any paragraphs here. I mean, if we want, we could put, this is paragraph 1, but there's not really any paragraphs. And then the R, read any extras. So the extras are gonna be like this, which if we look at the bottom tells us, let me finish highlighting. And again, what I'm doing on mine, you should be doing on your paper, all right? You're gonna be turning these in next week when you come back to school. So you need to be marking just like I'm marking. So this, it says on the left is a photo created to show what King Tut might have looked like. Again, this is the job of those forensic anthropologists. They take the skulls and they build using, I mean, science. It's kind of crazy. It's like part science, part artistic, of what they think the person might have looked like. And then this is what you always see on like t-shirts, like, "Ooh, I'm rolling," is the picture of King Tut's tomb. And then I think that's any extras. So now we're just gonna go through and read. And again, on our sheet for document 1, we just have to write down 3 facts. Okay, so suspect name, Tutankhamun. Birthplace, Egypt. Birth date is circa 1341. So remember how we make note, oh shoot, that's not what I wanted to underline. This right here, circa means about. So again, it's not, they don't know if it's actually 1341 BC, but they know it's about that time. It might have been a year or 2 off. Death, again, circa around 1323 BCE. They believe he was 17, 18 years old. There's still some debate. Some say it's 17, some say 18, some say he became pharaoh when he was 8, some say he became pharaoh when he was 9. Again, not exact. His eyes were brown, his hair was brown, his height was 5'11", and his weight was only 150 pounds. So he wasn't crazy big. Because let's say Miss Morris is around 150 pounds, which of course I'm like 30 pounds. Just kidding. So that means he weighed about the same as me, but was taller. So he wasn't like a really like sturdy fella. And just like the video said, they think he was like sickly. And again, we talked about that. When you have kids with your sister, there is some genetic problems. We now know. Back then, they didn't know that though. All right, an occupation, Egyptian pharaoh. That was his job. Occupation is job. All right, I'm going to read case summary. In 1332 BCE, Pharaoh Akhenaten died and passed the throne of ancient Egypt onto his 9-year-old son. And again, there was some drama with his dad, and we're going to read about that because when his dad became Pharaoh, he was like, hey, you guys know how we have this religion and we worship a whole bunch of gods? I'm going to stop that. We're only going to worship one God, okay? And people are kind of like, I'm sorry, what? We've been doing this for thousands of years and you're just all of a sudden going to tell us to change it? So people were not happy. Tutankhamun, known as King Tut, that's who the son was. Thanks to his father, King Tut took over an Egyptian society in chaos. So a lot of disorder, a lot of unruliness, a lot of unhappiness. Akhenaten, which was Tut's father, had forbidden the worship of many gods in favor of worshiping one, Aten, the sun god. I mean, he changed so much stuff to focus on this. The sudden change created a great deal of distrust towards the royal family. As 9-year-old Tut governed means like ruled, over his new empire, he relied heavily on the help of his father's former advisors. Then at the age of 18, just 9 years into his reign, King Tut mysteriously died. Was his death the result of natural causes, or was King Tut murdered? Were there signs of a cover-up? Was there a power struggle? You will be investigating the circumstances surrounding this case to answer the question, was King Tut murdered? Okay, so here's the thing. I'm sure some of you are going to Google right now and see what it says. Awesome. Just because it says it on the internet does not mean it's true. There is still a lot of debate over how he actually died. And you're going to have experts come on and say, I can prove King Tut was murdered. And then they'll have all this evidence. You're like, oh, okay. And then some other expert will be like, I have evidence. He was poisoned or he was, we don't know. So we gather evidence and make the best conclusion we can. But it's not always 100% like, this is it. It's, not like if you found a body yesterday, they could do all these tests immediately. And no, this is somebody whose body. So we found him in 1920. He died. When did we say he died? I don't know, 1323. So we're looking at they found his body. I don't know, it's a lot of math. Like 3,000 years after, let's see, 1920. Yeah, so about 3,000 years after he was buried. So it's gonna be a little more challenging to determine cause of death as opposed to someone who died last week. And it's easier to find cause of death. Okay, so we have to write down 3 facts that we read. So I'm going to start. You can do your own facts. You can do the facts that I put. It's up to you. I'm going to put, what's a fact is King Tut became ruler. Oops, I gotta make this bigger. Ruler at the age of 8. Okay, there's a fact. King Tut relied heavily on his advisors. His advisors are like the people who work below him. Because again, he's 8 years old. That would be like, hey, 8-year-old, you're president of the United States. Do you, boo? Good job. It's a lot. You've given this 8-year-old the entire responsibility of this ginormous civilization, and a civilization not really in a good place. People are not happy. And when your citizens are not happy, things aren't going to go so well. All right, third fact is, let's say King Tut died at the age of 18. So let's put King Tut died at the age of 19. All right, so that's it. 3 facts. That's all we have to do for document 1. Whoop, whoop. All right, so now we're going to do document 2, and then we'll be done for the day. All right, document 2. Again, we're going to up in our triple R. So let's put our little UPNR -RRR. It is legit at the end of the day. It's 4:54. I'm still at school. And yeah, you know. All right, so you underline or highlight titles and headers. So did I put this on 2 pages? No, okay, I got this all on 1 page. All righty, so we're gonna, there is a header, background information. Here's the title, CSI was King Tut murdered. I mean, we can highlight it if we want. Maybe I'll do it in a different color. Directions, read through the background details and the confidential files surrounding the case. When asked, answer the appropriate questions in the space provided. So again, I give you an answer document. Reason being why I give you this answer document, because at the end, we're all done. It's much easier to have all of your information on 1 page than it is to have to go through this page with this questions, this page with this question, this page with this questions. It's easier to have it on 1. So if you want, you can write it on here first. I do want it transferred to the graphic organizer. All right, so UP, predict, already told us we're gonna get background information, and number the paragraphs. I wanna do this in black. Here's number 1, here's number 2, and here's number 3. All right, read any extras. Not really extras on this one. There's no pictures, there's no nothing. It's just basically the 3 paragraphs. So I'm gonna start off by reading those. Sorry, I'm keeping it on my phone because a student's supposed to come. All right. Background information, paragraph 1. Pharaohs ruled Egypt for about 2,000 years before the birth of King Tutankhamun in 1341 BCE. These pharaohs enjoyed relatively stable and peaceful rule since their people faced few threats. The hot deserts kept enemies away. Remember how I talked about there's basically deserts surrounding the entire Egypt country? No one really wanted to invade because they invaded the desert and then they died and they didn't make it to Egypt. So Egypt was pretty safe in that sense. And the rich Nile River provided an abundance. That means like lots of crops. They weren't worrying about food. The Nile gave them lots of crops. No other nation could boast of the stability offered by the Egyptian Empire. Around the year 3000 BCE, Pharaoh Narmer, also known as Menes, remember we talked about him on our Who's Who, united Upper and Lower Kingdom. So at one point there was Upper Egypt and there was Lower Kingdom. Menes was like, yep, no, dude, sorry, not working for me. He put him into one, and it's just become one giant nation of Egypt. And going forward, the Pharaoh maintained absolute power in Egypt. The Pharaoh was the head of the government, the army, and the religion. Okay, paragraph 2. Possessing wealth and resources that neighboring nations lacked. So they had a lot of wealth. They had a lot of resources in terms of like crops, natural water. They were living large. The Pharaoh used the army to easily subdue border tribes and enforce high taxes in the conquered regions. With an abundance of food, a seemingly endless era of peace, which means it was just peace, 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 peace. And now great amount of gold flowing into Egyptian lands, the people loved their Pharaoh. They're like, we love you, Pharaoh. Like, you guys love me? They love their Pharaoh. They're like, oh my gosh, we love you. I mean, if you guys want to give me gold, I'm okay with that. In fact, they began to view their Pharaoh as a living God. I mean, that's how high they thought of him. They thought of him as like a living God. Paragraph 3. In 1417, again, this is BCE, Amenhotep III became the ruler of Egypt. This was Tutankhamun's grandfather. Amenhotep was a well-loved pharaoh by the people for his success in expanding the empire and bringing in new markets of vast wealth. New temples were built too, which greatly pleased the religious elite. So that's like the snotty people, the rich people. So they really liked that he was putting money into their religion. However, things quickly changed when Amenhotep III died. In 1379, Amenhotep IV, Tutankhamun's father, ascended to the throne. So he became the pharaoh. Amenhotep IV soon angered the priests when he refused to worship the many Egyptian gods. Instead of polytheism, which, as we talked about, is the belief in many gods, Amenhotep IV believed in just one god, which is called monotheism. Mono meaning one, belief in one god. And in just one god, Aten, the sun god. This new pharaoh went so far as to even change his name to Akhenaten, which means it is beneficial to Aten. Believing that there was now only one God, Akhenaten stopped spending money on the religious temples, which further angered Egyptian society. Along with abandoning the popular Egyptian religion, Akhenaten was further ridiculed for moving the empire's capitals to faraway land and neglecting to maintain the military. So this guy was like, hey, Egypt, you know how things have been going really well for thousands of years? Let's kind of mix it up. I'm going to change your religion. I'm going to move your capital somewhere really far away, and then I'm going to stop putting money into the military. All right, sounds good, sounds good. Obviously, people were not happy. Hold on, I got to see if that's a student. Hold on, Lily, can you go run this out the library door, please? And tell him if he needs copies of the science pages, I can send it to him. Okay? Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get this done and someone's here trying to get their science notebook. Oh, you guys see my little bruise? Look, I have 2 bruises. I don't know if you can see. I have that one there. I don't know if you can see the lump right there. I went to pick up the puppy and I hit my head the wall. And then right there, I hit my face into the wall. So I have like these lovely bruises. Okay, sorry. Okay, needless to say, Pharaoh Akhenaten's actions caused great outrage among the Egyptian people. It was this environment that ushered in the youngest pharaoh to ever rule Egypt, Tutankhamun. But think about this. He, 8 years old, becomes pharaoh. It's not like Egypt's been doing well. There's still lots of peace. They're getting lots of gold. Things are bad. Things are really bad. And then we're like, hey, 8-year-old, we're going to need you to fix this, make it all better. Good job. Good luck. It was not good. It was not good at all. All right. Did you tell them all those things I told you? Okay, thank you, ma'am. My children are still at school at 5 o'clock. They're not very happy with me. Okie dokie. Oh, okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so let's now go look at our questions. Question number 1 says, what power did the pharaoh hold in ancient Egypt? So if we go back, and I'm going to highlight when I find the information, because remember, we have to cite where we got the information. You can't just be like, oh, look, there's an answer. That's a pretty answer, Miss Moss. I just pulled it out of the air. No, you have to tell me where you found the information from. So right here, I'm going to go by quick because I know we're getting to a long video. The pharaoh was the head of the government, the army, and the religion. That was his job. So back in my answer document, your answer document, number 2, we're going to put, so we don't have to put complete answers. Head of the government, the army, and religion. And then I found an answer in paragraph 1. Okay, so that's it. That's all we got to put for number 1. I'm going to move it so it fits like that. All right. This one's a little weird. Can we move this over a little bit? Okay. Question number 2 says, did the Egyptian people have a reason to hold a grudge against King Tut when he came to power? Why or why not? Well, yeah, we just talked about that. Yeah, of course they did. They were super mad at his dad, and they thought maybe he was going to be like his dad. Maybe he's going to be like, yeah, we're going to follow everything my dad does. So yeah, they totally had reason to be mad at him. So we're going to say yes, because of what, and you can put your own answer if you want. I'm just trying to, because of what his father had done, people may have believed Tut was just like his dad. So they might have been like, hey, looks like Tut's he could be just like his dad. He could be continuing to do this like awful rule that, you know, is changing the religion and all of these things. Not sure why that's not black. We kind of need that black so you can see it better. All right, that's better. All right, and then, oh, that was an opinion, so we don't have to state our paragraph because that was an opinion. And if you disagree, you can put no. But I kind of feel like, why wouldn't they think Tut was going to be like his dad? I mean, he's 8 years old. He has been taught by his father. So why would he not follow his dad? Okay, number 3 is based on your background information. Is it possible someone may have had a motive to kill the boy king? again, this is an opinion. My opinion is, and again, you can write something different if you want, is yes, people may have had motive because, again, they might have thought he was going to be just like his dad. So they're thinking, hey, we kill Tut. That's the end of this nonsense. That's the end of this one God nonsense. Move the capital, like we're done. So I think, yeah, I mean, because if they thought Tut was going to be like his dad, if they killed him, they could have thought it was over. So we're going to put yes. People who hated his dad and his ideas may have thought killing Tut would restore the old ways. Let's put the old ways. The old ways. We do things the old way, people, not the new way. Oh, shoot. Okay. So I'm going to have to change that tomorrow, but when we go to type in. But yes, people. Oh, what is that? Okay. Yes, people who hated his dad, and let's put his dad's ideas may have thought killing Tut would restore the old ways. I mean, it's not unreasonable. I mean, kill him, things are going back. So if you need to pause the video, write all this down. This is what we're doing for day one. So day one was introduction, which was the 3 videos, document 1, document 2. Again, you need to be marking it up like I'm marking it up because you are going to be turning this in when you come in next Tuesday or Wednesday. And if you don't have it marked up, not going to be a very happy person. Okie dokie. Stop sharing. All right. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, text me, email me. I have Zooming tomorrow and I'm going to be talking about this. Okay. I think that's it. Make good choices. Look at the clock. What time is it? It is 5:06. My children are not happy. Look, there's one. There's one, guys. And then there's the other one. They're not happy with me right now. Okay. Make good choices. Be good people. Tell everyone I'm your favorite, even if it's a lie, because it's not. All right. See you on Zoom. Deuces.